Welcome, everyone. It's Sunday service. Always excited about coming forward. Today, I'm just as excited as ever. I have a wonderful word for you today. Thank you. We're going to be reading out of the book of 1 Samuel today. I know I'm going to be embarking upon 1 Samuel in my Bible study, but I'm not really going to get into what I'm going to discuss in my Bible study today. But I want to use the story of this portion of David's story to speak a powerful word to you that I think all of you all can benefit from. But before I get started, let's invoke the Spirit of God to assist me in the discernment of God's word, and we will begin. Heavenly Father, I come before you, your daughter, looking for you. Always motivated and willing to do your will. I ask that you move fluidly throughout this environment. Lend me your attention and your protection so that what you choose to do through me today is easily transitioned and spoken to the children in honesty and integrity. I love you so deeply, and I thank you. And in love, I come before you in the fullness and in all of the power of this love. I come before you. And in God's name I pray, amen. All right, y'all. So today we're going to be speaking out of the book of 1 Samuel. This is a word that I want to encourage everybody to pay attention to because a lot of this is going on. These are prime ways that the enemy uses to enact his will. When I say prime, I mean prime, like as in prime numbers that are not divisible by anything but itself or one itself. These are foundationary aspects that the enemy uses every single time against the children of God. This is one aspect of it. We're going to speak to David today. 1 Samuel chapter 21 is what I'm going to be reading from. I'm going to read from verse 10 through 15. And I will begin. And David arose and fled that day for fear of Saul, and went to Achish, the king of Gath. And the servants of Achish said unto him, Is not this David the king of the land? Did they not sing one to another of him in dances, saying, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s? And David laid up these words in his heart. He took note of them. It touched him. It reverberated. It created a feeling in him. And was sore afraid of Achish, the king of Gath. And he changed his behavior before them. And he feigned himself mad in their hands. And scrabbled on the doors of the gate. And let the spittle fall down upon his beard. He's acting crazy. He's putting on an act so that he doesn't stand in the truth of who he really is. He lowers himself down to make himself look weakened besides himself. He begins drooling on himself. This is the word today. This is the word. Friend, there are times in your life where you will have to look like something you're not. God will require it of you. God will require you to play the fool, friend. Just so God's will can be done. This situation that David is in, we all know the story of David and Saul. This is the beginning of it. This is the very, very beginning of David fleeing from Saul. He's verified by way of Jonathan that Saul is out to get him, that all of his inclinations and ideas of what is going on are true and factual, and that he does have an enemy in Saul, that there is a conspiracy against him, and that he not only is in the knowing of this, and now there is another individual that can verify that this is actually going on. Saul's son, Jonathan. But David is on his own. Jonathan can't do anything for David, except for just agree that Saul is out to get him, to verify what David already knew within his heart, but had no tangible substance to relate to it. You ever knew something, but you had no proof? This is David. He knew a thing was going on, yet he had no proof. And what happens is David flees and he goes on this journey. And he goes first to a priest and he gets artillery, weaponry. The king of the world is hunting him. Little old David, the king, a man he's never done anything to, but spoke highly of and served appropriately, has now made him his open enemy. And in that, he's multiplied himself and made David's entire house turn against him. All of his community of people has turned against him. David is in a situation where he was a part of a community, the Hebraic house. And the king of the Hebraic house has turned against David and is hunting him. And he's using all of his brethren in his community to do so as well. Follow me here. And David runs. He goes and he gets whatever he can. He runs so quickly that he outruns the rumor. You see, when David gets to Ahimelech, the priest, he hasn't gotten word of what's going on yet. David gets there before the rumor gets to Ahimelech of what's going on between him and Saul. Yet there's somebody else there with Ahimelech, Doeg, an Edomite. Somebody that wants to be a part of the nation but can't. You got to beware of these type of people too, y'all. Those eager souls that want to be a part of something, that'll do anything to be a part of something. And this individual Doeg would see David, and once the rumor gets out, he would go back and tell Saul that David was there. But no focus on that. No focus on that in this Sunday service. I want to keep the focus on David. I'm leading you to understand exactly what's going on and what provoked him to do such things. And now that he's in such a space, even though he has an ally in the king's son, the ally can do nothing for him but verify what David already knew. So now David has taken what was intangible and brought it into the physical. And he's acting openly on it. He gets in front of another king. This king of Achish would be aligned with the Philistines. He would later show himself in scripture when David decides that he's going to turn his back on the house of Israel. This king would come up again, and David would try to align to them, and they would not allow it. The Philistines wouldn't allow it. But this is a mighty king. And David runs into him. And in doing so, David's reputation leads before him. Yet David is not standing in the glory of the reputation. Everything has been mirrored in David's life. Surely David is a mighty man. Surely David has the blessings of God upon him. But he does not feel that way. He feels very vulnerable. Have you ever had seasons in your life where you knew of all of the past conquests, you knew of your standing spiritually, but it doesn't seem that way in natural life? Your natural life could not be reflective of it. It could be a situation where you've befallen something and you're not really standing in power, or what it seems like power, as it relates to the world. But internally, you're solid. Internally, you've got everything it takes. But what you're dealing with internally and what is being seen externally are not aligning. Why? Because God is doing something. Chaos has come upon you, friend. God is leading you through another leg of your journey. An upgrade is happening. You're in that upgrade moment. That's David. And the king of Achish says, is this David that has done this, that, and the other of this mighty man? And David becomes extremely concerned because he doesn't need attention at this time. Have you ever been in a place where you didn't need attention? Where you didn't care what it looked like? The past seasons of my life, surely I rode high. Surely I looked great. Surely I had all these things together. And I'm the same old me. But this season, I want to be incognito. I don't need all of the attention that came with all that stuff. I will abandon that. Even I will let that go. God will strip that from me to assist me in being incognito so I can get the fullness of this experience. This is David. David immediately defaults back to what he was before he defeated Goliath. Shepherd boy, regular guy, a champion, a G, a whole G, from top to bottom, in and out. But the type of G, the type of godly essence that doesn't need applause, that doesn't need whispers. Oh, did you see David? He just passed by. They don't need a pat on the back. The power is not contingent upon somebody else knowing it. The power is completely intrinsic to you knowing it, you cultivating it. This is what David would default back to. And after the servants of Achish said unto him, is not this David the king of the land? Did they not sing one to another of him in dances, saying, Saul hath slain thousands and David his 10,000s? After David hears this, he says, okay, I'm not coming forth in that energy. I'm not looking to meet you at that. Because I'm in a place right now where tremendous change, chaos is at hand. I'm experiencing an upgrade without really knowing it. I need to default back to what I really know, to who I've been all along. Just regular David. I'm not trying to challenge this king. I don't want to come amongst him as a king, even though I know I'm a king. I don't need that. And he humbles down himself all the way down, friend, in a way that most men could never do. But this is power, exponential power. This is the organic level of power that David would have. And that would be, he didn't care what it looked like. I don't care what I look like, friend. I've got another monster I'm dealing with that overshadows the look. The monster that I'm wrestling with is so tremendous, friend. I'm not concerned about impressing you. I'm not concerned about explaining this situation to you. I'm so much of a man, and I'm so solid in my character and in my being, that I'm not running to you for mercy. I'm not running to you so I can tell you what's going on. Guess what? Saul is hunting me, and Jonathan knows it. I'm not alone in this. I'm not the only one that knows this. Jonathan knows it, and I know that Jonathan told somebody. I don't need anybody else to legitimize this. I'm legitimizing this. This is my battle. And until I get some stability in this, I'm not trying to impress anybody, because I don't hold any of you in that much of a regard to feel as if I need to. I got to get to where I need to get my mind right. So he comes amongst the king as if he's crazy. He's drooling. He's writing on walls, premeditatively going above and beyond with it. He needs word to get out that he's something that he's not. He needs them to think that he's weak, because it is in weakness that he will be able to observe and see the truth. He's unassuming in his weakness. Friend, it is in your weakened state that you get to see the truth of everything. All of those masks, friend, come off. We've spoken to all these things along the way, of the masks that people wear and why they wear them. Yet when they feel as if you have nothing to offer them, when they feel as if they have the upper hand in whatever way, and however the conjunctions of situations collide, they feel as if they can now take that mask off because you have no authority. You're no longer a contender or a threat. Many will look at that space as a very disadvantaged space. But I'm here to tell you, friend, it's the most powerful place you'll be at. It is the place of rebranding. Friend, it's the place of extreme chaos. And it is the place of upgrade. Yet if you walk through it and you're resentful, you don't realize what is going on before you. If you don't know yourself and you are not anchored internally to that central access point, which is God, you will not do like David did. How many of us get in these types of situations where chaos comes and we look a certain way to the world and we try to explain it away? No, this is really not that. What had happened was, really, they're hunting me. Saul is hunting me. Really, this is a conspiracy. Really, this is this. Really, this is that. You spend all your time trying to explain to people that have no power in any level of your situation why you're doing what you're doing, when you yourself don't even know the fullness of your situation. All of these things are tests. Your upgrade is a test. Your rebranding comes from tests. David would have to flee. Everything he knew, he would have to create distance. For these things to come about, his rebranding, his upgrade. It would be created by God. All of these things would be sequences of events that would be created just for David, so that God could cast a wide net. Not just for David to be tested, but everybody. Doeg, Ahimelech, the king of Achish, his servants, Saul, Saul's army. The brethren that decided to come and align with David after getting some sort of idea of what's going on. Everybody would be tested. And David wouldn't know that at the time. But David would be the catalyst for all of this change. And God would be able to bank on David being the catalyst to allow such tremendous change because of how David was centrally aligned. If David was not aligned appropriately, the change could not have occurred in the manner in which it did. Goes back to what I said earlier in the week about the things that God will lead you to see that nobody else will see. Moses finding Joseph's rod in an area where many people had been, but nobody saw it. And how Moses would need to be aligned properly to the will of God to be able to be given the authority to see that, to be useful enough to be able to capture that. These are the things that made these people great. There were many that had come before that God used and that dropped the ball, y'all. And that went forever nameless. We don't talk about them because they did not align properly and they dropped the ball. Yet the ones that we speak to till today did so. They aligned properly. And they did not drop the ball. And this is why they are remembered in the capacity in which they are. Sometimes you have to flee your own area and create distance for God to build a case on your behalf. That is what would happen with David. David would flee Saul and give Saul so many opportunities to turn this thing around, all so that God could build a case against Saul. Not even God building a case against Saul, friend. Also that Saul would build a case against himself that he would not be able to come from up under. He will be blinded by his own internal inadequacies that would turn and become external projections in the form of jealousy and envy to a man that had done nothing to him. He was afraid of his own stuff befalling him. And he saw David as that aspect that could bring it about. He knew David was useful to God. He knew David would be the vessel that God could use to enact his will against Saul. This is what made him public enemy number one. Have you ever had to flee an environment and look like a fool, friend? Withstand rumors, lies, and never be able to speak any truths to them. All because God told you to move in that way? Friend, I'm here to tell you, I've had to sleep in my car. And I had a house. Because God told me to move in that way. You don't hear me though. I know you're thinking I'm just joking with you. I'm telling you the truth. I had to be mocked and spied on and stalked by people in certain communities that I lived in. Because of the Sauls of the world. I'm here to tell you, y'all, God will, the enemy is an imposter of God. He has no more than what God has already done to recreate. So if God can work through one person for the good, the enemy can work through one person for the negative. The enemy can pinpoint a person that you may have a situation with and align to them, and use that one person as a cancer within a community to petition and to multiply negativity and lies, all to try to create negativity in your life. We see this all the time. Well, all you gotta do is turn on the news and you'll see it. They call them RICOs. Racketeer, influenced, and corrupt organizations. You've been influenced by somebody for a selfish desire. And whether you are the one that's committing the crime or not, if you've played any role in it, you are a part of it. They call that a RICO. What Saul was doing to David today will be considered a RICO. It was the original RICO. Saul hunting David was the original RICO. David was not even able to go and be partaking of his own community. He couldn't even go back to his own house. He couldn't even live amongst his own family decently. All had been infiltrated, corrupted, to the point that this king that David is standing in front of and acting as if he is not sane because he needs to go inconspicuous. He doesn't need to look like a threat. David would later reintroduce himself to this king. After the smoke clears and they kind of know what's going on between Saul and David, David would go back amongst this man, still as a mighty warrior, but no longer drooling, no longer needing to hide it, standing in his authority with thousands of mighty men on his side. He would come to this man and say, I want to partner with you. You know what's going on. They won't accept me. They want to keep this thing going. I don't know why it's going on either, but I don't have time to be worried about this. I'll align with you. And this king would say, okay, well, we'll run it by the Philistines and see what they say. And it will be the Philistines that will be like, nah, friend, nah, we good. This is a setup. Because there's no way that you have turned your back on your own house. You can't convince me that it's in you to do it. Friend, you're too honorable to do it. I don't trust this. Nah, I don't trust it. I'd rather take a loss than to trust aligning with you because I know that you are too integral. That's how integral David was. His reputation surpassed him at heightened levels. Not because he was looking to make a name for himself, but because he stood in the integrity of God. And this is a testament to the monumental aspects of standing in the integrity of God. What it'll do to you. It multiplies your greatness. The love element, friend, multiplies the greatness. David was great because David loved deeply. David had found something that he loved and that was purposeful. And those two together are a powerhouse. The enemy only needs one. All he needs is one person that don't agree with you. All he needs is one. And with that one, he can multiply. David's one would be Saul. The enemies of God would use Saul. They would placate the fear that Saul felt in being replaced. We spoke to how Saul could have done like Samuel's mentor and just bowed out. But fear and ego wouldn't let him do it. The enemy will use one person, friend, and through that one, he will multiply himself all around you. Yet I'm here to tell you that none of that matters. I'm here to tell you that if you align to God and God tells you to do a thing, even if you look like a fool to your neighboring community, even if you look like a fool to the world, even if you look like a fool to kings of nations, you're right on time with God. Because God will create a sequence of events, just like he did with David, so that all of your enemies build cases against themselves. They all build it against themselves. Every last one of them. When we look at this story, that is exactly what is going on here. And they exalted David in the process. All of it worked to his benefit. But if he got hung up on what people were saying while he was going through it, he never could have reaped the reward. He never would have gotten the rebranding. He never would have stood in the truth of the rebranding, friend. The rebranding was truthful because David's walk made it so. It was so open that when the truth of what was really going on came out, it served David. They already had the lie, and they already had the activities of David and all of his walks and hiding and all of the people that came to him and all of the activities that they had. They all had that. So they see what David is doing and it's not making sense to them, and they're believing the lies. But then when the truth comes out, all of the lies are dispelled. And what made David look ridiculous, unstable, now made sense. And it gave David that much more credibility because of it. It gave David that much more credibility in the sense that, wow, what kind of characters does that person have to be able to have withstood that? I remember seeing them, and I remember walking past them and looking at them while they were going through it, and I thought that they were dealing with something completely different. But now that I know exactly what was going on, I got a whole nother level of respect for this person. That's David. And that's my word to you. When God says move, friend, you got to move. Like I said, I've had a house and had to sleep in my car, friend. I don't have no shame for you. I have no shame in nothing that I do. And in doing so, I allow God to do what God does. I know my role and I stay in my lane, and I allow God to do what God does. And I continuously, at that time, will come forth and chip away at it every day as if it was nothing. And that's my word for you. Keep going. Don't worry about what it looks like to people, y'all. People don't know. A lot of times you don't even know. But what you do know is your alignment to God. And in the end, when it all comes full circle, it'll all make sense. Just as it did for David. All of David's struggles would serve him. They would grant him superpowers, internal levels of knowing that nobody around him would have. And he would have a seat of power. He would be king. Not king by default, not king because he knew a bunch of people, but king because he earned it. King because the people knew his story. And not even his story. The people knew his truth, because there is no story. There's only truths when it comes to David. And that truth will forever serve him and distinguish him. And so will yours. This is my word for you today. This is what I got for you. Happy Sunday, everyone. You're loved more than you'll ever know. Be good to yourselves. And be good to one another. Peace and love.